doesn't talk very much either. But really, I'm just dying for you to meet him. So, here he is.
We are talking about the horror film Flight 7500, also known as just 7500. Now this one is actually directed by Takashi Shimzui, or something like that. I so butchered these names. But anyway, this one features a whole host of TV stars who you've seen in previous TV shows. For example, we've got Jason from True Blood, we've got Rosita from The Walking Dead, we've got Turtle from Entourage, along with a couple of other ones as well. And basically this focuses on a variety of people as they board this plane going to Japan, I think it is. And mid-flight there seems to be some kind of commotion as this guy is kind of convulsing basically, and he ends up dying on the plane. And strange kind of thing starts to happen. There seems to be some kind of technical issues with the plane, and we seem to there may well be some kind of supernatural force on this plane that seems to have it in for our passengers. So that's pretty much all I will say on this film. I have to say I really enjoyed this film up until the end. I thought it was a really good, solid kind of like mystery film, and it has a twist ending that I think works, but it did leave me somewhat unsatisfied with it. I thought that the twist made sense, and I think some people will like it, but for me personally, I actually thought it's kind of a bit of a letdown, because it didn't it didn't kind of tie in with certain things throughout the film. It's one of these films where you have to kind of look pretty closely about what's going on. I'll give you an example without spoiling anything. The guy who initially dies on the plane, you have to watch very closely to what's happening there as to clues about what's happening on later on. And it's not until you watch the film in its completion and you think about that scene again, for example, and you think, oh, actually, I kind of now that ties in with the kind of the end of this film without giving anything away. Now, let me just let's just cycle back to the positives here. This movie is, it's got a lot of recognisable faces, basically, along with those people you've mentioned. You've also got Leslie Bibb, you've got Amy Smart, and there's plenty of faces here that you'll recognise, mainly from TV, but a few films as well. So I think the acting here is, for the most part, pretty solid. And I actually have to say, I quite like the characters that were on display here as well. We have a wide range of characters, some of which are kind of sort of comical, some of which are, kind of more serious, but nonetheless you kind of get a good, a good idea of the characters. And it just definitely reminds me of the kind of the disaster films, that we've kind of seen involving kind of aeroplanes and stuff like that. It definitely has that kind of feel to it, the way it's kind of set up, introducing to these characters, and they all might have their little kind of things going on. So I kind of like that. It is a bit of a slow burn, this film, and when the spooky stuff starts to happen, nothing really happens until about halfway through the movie, and then it kind of slowly kind of happens, and it's it's a good supernatural mystery. The effects are somewhat minimal, I would say. There's not loads of effects on display here, but when it's used, I would say it's used effectively. I did quite like some of the effects here. Some of them don't quite make sense, if you asked me. There's a few things that are in this movie that seem to be here deliberately to be kind of either red herrings or just to kind of like tick certain kind of horror tropes. And like I said, I enjoyed the story. Then we get to the ending of it, and I was kind of a bit perplexed really, because I see what the filmmakers have done here, and like I said, it kind of makes sense, but I didn't really like it. I didn't really like the ending. So my personal opinion, I was a little bit deflated with the ending, unfortunately, but I understand that people will like it and kind of will think it's kind of clever. It is a twist. I mean, maybe I'd like it more if it was less of a twist in a way for this particular film, because I was kind of quite invested in the story of these people sort of going on, and then you kind of have this twist that kind of changes the status quo. I don't know, to me it was kind of a little bit kind of deflated what had come previously to it, I felt. But overall, I would say this is a worthwhile kind of horror film. It's not a gory film. There's a couple of jump scares, but it's not a particularly jumpy scare film. But it has a sort of a good sense of spookiness to it, and there are kind of scenes I felt were, oh, that's like freaky. There's some freaky things that happen in this film. You're thinking, whoa. But like I said, to me, some things here I would feel are just being done to check off horror boxes, so to speak, and in the context of what's actually happened, you think, I don't quite see how that makes sense. But anyway, overall, I'd say it was an enjoyable watch. I'm glad I watched it. You know, I don't know if I want to buy a collector's version of it or something like that, but it was an enjoyable watch for sure. I'll give this movie a solid 6.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.